From the windswept plains of Patagonia to the colorful street markets of Sao Paulo, South America isn't just about tango, samba and mountain peaks. It's also home to a rich, vibrant knitting culture that blends indigenous techniques, European influences and bold modern design. In today's video, we're diving into the knitting worlds of Chile, Argentina and Brazil. I'm going to show you some incredible patterns from talented designers and also talk about the history and knitting traditions of South America and maybe even inspire your next cast on. I've spent a lot of time researching this video, digging into fiber traditions, discovering designers and tracing the cultural threads that make South American knitting so special. And there is even going to be a giveaway, and I'm so happy to announce that the iconic Argentinian knitwear designer Joji Locatelli generously agreed to gift one of her beautiful knitting patterns to the lucky winner of the giveaway. I am going to talk more about that later on in the video, so stick around if you would like to win a copy of one of Joji Locatelli's knitting patterns. So grab your knitting project and a cup of mate maybe, and let's explore the textures, colors and stories behind South American knitting. Before we dive into the knitting content, let's quickly get our bearings. South America is a vast and diverse continent made up of 12 countries, including Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Peru, Colombia and Bolivia, among others. It stretches from the equator all the way down to Patagonia, near the tip of Antarctica, so the climates are incredibly varied. You'll find everything from tropical rainforests in the Amazon to mountainous highlands in the Andes, deserts in northern Chile and snowy plains in the south. This variety plays a big role in the kinds of fibers people use and also the type of garments that they knit. Most of South America speaks Spanish, but in Brazil the official language is Portuguese, and in addition there are a number of different indigenous languages that are spoken all throughout the continent, mainly in rural and mountainous areas. All of this cultural and geographical diversity makes South America a rich, colorful source of inspiration for the fiber arts, and there is so much to explore. South America has a long and layered textile history, one that predates colonial times by centuries. The fiber arts were and still are in some parts of the continent, especially in the Andes, a vital part of life. People spun llama, alpaca and sheep's wool by hand, naturally dyed it with plants and minerals, and used it to knit and weave clothing, tools and ceremonial garments. While weaving has traditionally dominated in the indigenous communities, knitting has carved out its own unique space. It's become a creative outlet, a social activity, and even a political statement in some parts of the continent. In Argentina, knitting is everywhere, from urban cafes in Buenos Aires to the windswept estancias of Patagonia. The country is also a major wool producer and very well known for its Patagonian merino, which is very soft, warm and internationally prized. Knitting is still taught in schools, practiced socially and often passed down through the generations. And there is even a whole yarn district in Buenos Aires called the Via Crespo, with the Avenida Scalabrini Ortiz that is lined with yarn shops. And although I have not been there yet, I have heard that this is a must visit for every fiber lover. Argentina also has strong influences from European immigration, specifically from Italy and Spain, which shows in the lace and the stitch motifs that were used in the more traditional knitting styles. In Brazil, knitting coexists with a strong lace and crochet tradition. You often find lighter weight items in Brazil suited to the warmer climate. Think airy shawls, sleeveless tops and cotton garments. Brazil's knitting culture is closely tied to community and entrepreneurship. On local markets, you often find small business owners selling hand-knitted items while often combining knitting and crochet to create very unique pieces. And while the weather may not demand wool sweaters, you will often find Brazilian knitters enjoying to work with lighter weight fibers, so plant-based fibers like linen, cotton or bamboo, often in very vibrant tropical colors. In Chile, knitting connects deeply with rural traditions and modern design. The southern regions of the country, especially Chiloé Island, are known for their warm, durable knitwear. Fishermen's sweaters, ponchos, and socks are staples of the traditional handmade wardrobe. Chile also has strong indigenous textile traditions, especially among the Mapuche people, who are very well known for their geometric motifs and their natural dyeing techniques. And while they tend to focus more on woven techniques, knitters often draw inspirations from the patterns. In urban areas like Santiago, knitting has become part of the modern DIY and slow fashion movement, with young designers blending more traditional elements with contemporary design. So while the knitting traditions in South America are deeply rooted in history, they are far from frozen in time. Today, a new generation of designers is blending those traditional elements with bold colors, wearable silhouettes, and contemporary aesthetics. Let's have a look at some incredibly talented designers from Chile, Argentina, and Brazil now, and the beautiful patterns that they have created. As always, when I create these videos for my Knitting Around the World series, I have put together a bundle on Ravelry, which contains more than 100 patterns from South American knitwear designers. But since I unfortunately cannot feature all of them in this video, I'm going to link the bundle in the description box below, along with everything else I am going to mention in the video. We're going to start with Chile, and this is the very first pattern that I would like to show you. It is called the Heaven Cardigan, and it is a design by Josefina Vergara, also known as Pope Vergara. Now, Pope Vergara is a new to me designer, and I was absolutely blown away when I discovered her. I highly recommend that you check out her portfolio on Ravelry. She has so many beautiful designs that it was very tough for me to choose just two to feature in this video. She often works with beads and lace and color work and has a very unique and beautiful design aesthetic in my opinion. So I was so happy that I discovered Pope Vergara during my research. The Heaven Cardigan came out in January of 2024, and it is knitted with 2 lace weight yarns held together to create a gauge of 16 stitches and 22 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes that she used are a US 7 and a US 8, which corresponds to 4.5 and 5 millimeter needles. You will also need a hook of 0.75 millimeters, and that's to attach the beads. The design comes in 9 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 85 up to 163 centimeters or 34 up to 65 inches. The recommended positive ease is 5 centimeters or 2.5 inches. The Heaven Cardigan draws inspiration from the celestial skies and the enchantment of Greek mythology. It is knitted using 2 strands of a mohair yarn to capture this essence, creating a voluminous effect reminiscent of clouds and an ethereal feel. The cardigan is worked seamlessly from the top down. You start with the back panel that features an elegant combination of beads and cable. After you have reached the desired length and have completed the increases, the back stitches are placed on hold and you start working on the front. And once you have worked both fronts, the back and front parts are joined, and then you continue knitting in one piece. Later on you add the sleeves, and the sleeves also feature some beads on the ribbing. So like I mentioned, it was extremely difficult for me to choose one design from Pope Vergara to show you in this video, and that's why I decided to show you another one, just because her designs are just too beautiful not to showcase them. So the second design that I would like to show you is called the Morning Fog Tee, and this one came out in July of 2024. It is knitted with a fingering weight yarn held together with a lace weight silk mohair to create a gauge of 22 stitches and 32 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 2.5 and a US 5, which corresponds to 3 and 3.75 millimeter needles. You will need a crochet hook as well, also to attach the beads, and it's the same size as the one in the previous design, so 0.75 millimeter. The tee comes in 9 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 86 up to 158 centimeters or 34 up to 62.25 inches. The recommended ease is 6 centimeters or 2.5 inches. The Morning Fog Tee is knitted in one piece from the top down, so it's knitted in the round. It contains short rows in the neck to ensure a good fit. This garment contains a variety of different techniques. You have the lace portion and also the bead insertion with the crochet hook and the color work. And the designer states that you should be prepared to dive into a project that challenges your skills and awakens your creativity. And another incredibly talented designer from Chile that I wanted to introduce you to is Paulina Castell. She combines modern, more minimalistic lines with color work and thoughtful details. And the first design of hers that I wanted to show you is called the Whim Colourwork Pullover, which came out in February of 2025. This one is actually a free pattern as it is part of the winter of 2025 collaboration between Pom Pom and Hobby, so the yarn company. It is knitted with a worsted weight yarn and a gauge of 18 stitches and 26 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 6 and a US 7, which corresponds to 4 and 4.5 millimeters. The sweater is available in 9 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 92 up to 167 centimeters or 36 up to 66.75 inches. It is recommended to be worn with 10 to 15 centimeters or 4 to 6 inches of positive ease. Whim is worked top down in the round using the stranded colorwork technique. You start at the neck, which is shaped with short rows, and then you knit the circular yoke with the first colorwork motif. Then you separate for the body and the sleeves and knit the body in stockinette in the main color, and at the end, so towards the hem, there is another colorwork motif. And in the end, you add some embroidery using some simple chain stitches to highlight certain sections of this beautiful design. The second pattern by Paulina Castell that I wanted to show you is called Top PrimaveraViva, and it came out in March of 2024. It is knitted with a fingering weight yarn and a gauge of 24 stitches and 37 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle size used is a US 2.5, which corresponds to 3 millimeters. You will also need a crochet hook with a size of 3 millimeters, and the design comes in 9 different sizes. The finished bust measurements range from 82 up to 162 centimeters or 32.25 up to 63.75 inches. Unfortunately, there is no information about the recommended ease. The top is knitted top down and it is made in all over stockinette stitch. You have 2 options for the neckline. You can either make it with a more traditional twisted elastic or start with a provisional cast on and then later on apply an I-cord, either in the main colorway or a contrasting color. Once the garment is knitted, you apply embroidery on the yoke. She includes some ideas for designs for you to apply for the embroidery stitches, but of course you can adapt that completely to your own taste. You can either change the designs completely, you can adapt the placement, and of course you can also use whatever colorways you like. If you do decide to knit this design, I highly recommend that you have a look at Ravelry and check out the project pages from the people who have already made this top, because there you can see that it can go so many different ways depending on your own preferences, and there are so many beautiful embroidered pieces to draw inspiration from. Let's move on to Argentina now, and I would like to talk about one of the most well-known Argentinian knitwear designers, Joji Locatelli. Based in Buenos Aires, Joji has built an international following for her elegant wearable patterns, often featuring flowy silhouettes, subtle textures and thoughtful details. Joji has a huge portfolio on Ravelry with more than 300 knitting patterns that are available, and she also has her own bag line, which is called Joji & Co., where she sells leather project bags and other leather pieces. And I'm very happy that Joji generously agreed to give away one of her beautiful knitting patterns to one of you. If you would like to win a copy of one of her patterns, all you have to do is leave a comment down below letting me know which of Joji's knitting patterns you would like to knit. And please also add your Ravelry username so that Joji can gift you the pattern. I am going to draw the winner next Monday, so exactly 1 week from now. Thank you so much, Joji, for kindly agreeing to gift one of your patterns to the winner of this giveaway. And by the way, I am also wearing one of Joji's designs today. This is a cardigan called Like a Cloud, and she originally designed it in a very lightweight yarn. I think she used a silk mohair, and I adapted the pattern to use a thicker yarn. I used Tor from Blacker Yarns. I am going to link my Ravelry project page for you in the description box below if you would like to check out my version. But I do have to admit that I absolutely adore this pattern. This is a wardrobe staple for me, and since I have knitted it years ago, I think more than 5 years ago at that point, I have worn this a lot and still continue to wear and enjoy it. So let's move on to the patterns of Joji that I wanted to show you. Since she is so popular and a lot of her patterns, her newer patterns, are so well known, I intentionally decided to show you 2 of her older patterns who are just as beautiful, but maybe there is a chance that you have not seen them before. And the first one that I wanted to show you is called the Dragonflies Jumper, which came out in August of 2012 and is knitted with a DK weight yarn with a gauge of 19 stitches and 30 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 6 and a US 7, which correspond to 4 and 4.5 millimeter needles. It comes in 7 different sizes, but those are all double sizes. And the finished bust measurements range from 30 up to 56 inches or 75 up to 140 centimeters. Unfortunately, there is no information about the recommended ease. The design is worked from the top down, so it's knitted seamlessly in the round, and the collar is worked from the neck up so that you can easily adjust its length. It is a very feminine and comfortable jumper that's worked in this beautiful textured stitch, which the designer stitch is very stretchy and will adapt to your body shape and hug you. And the second design of Joji that I wanted to show you is called Tree Seeker, and it is this beautiful large wrap. This pattern is part of her book Interpretations number 5, but it can also be purchased as an individual pattern. And in case you don't know, Interpretations is a series that Joji is doing together with her friend, the Finnish knitwear designer Veera Velimäki. and I think they have published 10 editions so far. And like I mentioned, the Tree Seeker is part of the 5th book. It is knitted with a DK weight yarn and a gauge of 19 stitches and 28 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle size used is a US 7, which corresponds to 4.5 millimeters. You will need around 1,300 yards or 1,190 meters to knit this one, and it comes in one size. And Joji states on the Ravelry project page about this design that big scarves and wraps are the perfect blank canvas to play with your favorite stitch patterns. For this design, I chose a beautiful interlocking cable and a delicate lace pattern that complement each other perfectly. Let's move on to another Argentinian knitwear designer now, and I would like to show you a design from Cecilia Losada. Cecilia is originally from Argentina, but she now lives in Barcelona in Spain. Cecilia is both a knitwear and crochet designer, and she also teaches a lot of workshops and courses. She draws inspiration from nature and more traditional motifs, but gives them a modern twist. And the design by Cecilia that I wanted to show you is called the Alkharif Sweater, and it came out in January of 2021. It is knitted with a fingering weight yarn and a gauge of 26 stitches and 32 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 2.5 and a US 3, which correspond to 3 and 3.25 millimeter needles. You will also need a crochet hook with a size of 3.5 millimeters, which corresponds to size E. The sweater comes in 10 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 91 up to 146 centimeters or 36 up to 57 inches. Unfortunately, there is no information about the recommended ease, but she states that the model in the pictures is wearing the sweater with 9 centimeters or 3.5 inches of positive ease. The sweater has a top-down construction with a circular yoke, and you have those cables and bobbles both at the yoke and also the bottom hem, and it also features some puffed sleeves. The name of this sweater means autumn in Arabic, and the designer also put some words about her inspiration for this pattern on the Ravelry project page that I would like to read to you now. She says, "For me, autumn is a season in which we celebrate our existence as human beings and the existence of the world. After having enjoyed the flowering of spring and the enjoyment of summer, autumn invites us to reflect and prepare to hibernate." Let's pack up our bags and move on to the next country, and I would like to talk about Brazil and the Brazilian knitwear designer Paula Pereira. Paula often uses natural fibers, and she also tends to design lighter weight garments, probably due to the climate in Brazil. Paula is the author of Textured Knits, which came out in 2023 and was published by Line. And if you like timeless designs with a twist, I highly recommend that you check out Paula Pereira. The first design by Paula Pereira that I would like to show you is called Bambuzal, and this is the Portuguese word for the bamboo canebrake. The pattern came out in March of 2025, and it is part of the Line magazine issue 24. At the moment, you can unfortunately only get this knitting pattern as part of the Line magazine, so you would have to order the whole magazine, but it might come out as an individual pattern in the future as well. The sweater is knitted holding 2 fingering weight yarns together to create a gauge of 20 stitches and 29 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 4 and a US 6, which corresponds to 3.5 and 4 millimeter needles. The sweater comes in 9 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 33.5 up to 67.25 inches or 85 up to 171 centimeters. It is recommended to be worn with 3 to 7 inches or 7.5 up to 17 centimeters of positive ease. And Paula Pereira was inspired by the bamboo trees to come up with these vertical and very unique lines of this stunning sweater design. And there is another pattern of hers that I would like to show you, and it is called the Pointelle Tee and came out in July of 2022. It is knitted with a fingering weight yarn and a gauge of 24 stitches and 32 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 3 and a US 4, which correspond to 3.25 and 3.5 millimeters. It comes in 9 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 33 up to 66 inches or 84 up to 168 centimeters. It is recommended to be worn with 3 to 10 inches or 7.5 up to 25 centimeters of positive ease. The pattern comes with 2 options for the sleeves. You can either knit them short or long, and the design is knitted in the round from the top down and includes short rows and this very beautiful all over lace motif. And another talented knitwear designer from Brazil that I would like to talk about is Pris Lopes, and she has a very playful approach to knitwear with very colorful combinations, unique textures and creative shapes while still creating designs that are completely wearable. And this is the knitting pattern that I picked out to show you, called the Rosalina Sweater, which came out in August of 2021. It is knitted with a fingering weight yarn and a gauge of 24 stitches and 34 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 3 and a US 5, which correspond to 3.25 and 3.75 millimeters. It comes in 7 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 34.4 up to 54 inches or 87.5 up to 137.5 centimeters. It is recommended to be worn with 1.2 up to 2.8 inches or 3 to 7 centimeters of positive ease. The sweater is knitted top down and the neckline is shaped with short rows. The raglan sleeves are decorated with this beautiful lace pattern, and the waist is shaped with darts both in the front and in the back of the sweater. And the designer states on the project page that this design was inspired by her great-grandmother who came to Brazil as a Portuguese immigrant in 1939. Now I hope that you've enjoyed this deep dive into the rich knitting cultures of Chile, Argentina and Brazil, and that you have found some designers and some knitting patterns that have inspired you. South America is such a vibrant and diverse part of the world, and I have truly enjoyed learning more about the knitting culture and history there. If you would like to be inspired by even more South American knitting patterns, don't forget to check out my bundle on Ravelry. And if you would like to win one of Joji Locatelli's beautiful knitting patterns, please don't forget to enter the giveaway by leaving a comment down below, letting me know which knitting pattern of Joji you would like to knit. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe even share it with a fellow knitter. I have lots more knitting inspiration from around the world coming soon, and I would love to have you along for the journey. And in case you have not seen the previous videos in this series yet, I am going to link the playlist for you on the screen. Until next time, happy knitting. Bye guys!